From crazy underground oceans on faraway planets to therapeutic lakes that change colors here on Earth, here's some of the most bizarre bodies of water in the known universe. Enceladus. There's a few places in outer space where water is thought to exist, and sometimes in vast quantities. Now that's really exciting because where there's water, there's also the potential for life. The first we'll talk about is Enceladus, which at 313 miles in diameter is Saturn's sixth largest moon. Its largest moon, Titan, is 10 times its size. Anyways, a report published by NASA in 2014 described the likelihood of a giant ocean existing underneath the planet's icy outer shell and above its rocky core. The NASA website, nasa.gov, shows its likely appearance in this picture. The report and picture are all based on a gravity investigation that was performed by the agency's Cassini spacecraft. Ganymede. Galileo discovered Ganymede all the way back in 1610, and it's a massive, spectacular object. Within Jupiter's orbit, it has a 1,635-mile radius, making it the largest moon and ninth largest object in the entire solar system, despite lacking a substantial atmosphere. The small amounts of oxygen that do exist is not enough to support life as we know it, making it unlikely that anything living exists on Ganymede. But according to experts, beneath its icy surface, there's likely a salty ocean, greater in size than all of Earth's oceans combined. Spacecraft started flying by Jupiter and getting pictures of Ganymede in the 1970s. The European Space Agency plans on exploring Jupiter's moons, and they plan on launching a craft in 2022 that would arrive in Jupiter's orbit by 2030. Europa. There's strong evidence, according to NASA, that an ocean of liquid water exists beneath Europa. Chances of life on the planet are significantly higher than on Ganymede, and one of the likeliest places in the solar system to host alien species. Observers looking through NASA's Hubble Space Telescope have seen what appear to be giant plumes of water vapor shooting from the moon, further bolstering scientists' hopes of finding water when that craft arrives in the area 13 years from now. Some fascinating stuff indeed, would you not agree? But for now, let's go back to Earth, specifically Yellowstone National Park. Grand Prismatic Spring. Water travels from a crack in the earth 121 feet up to the surface of the Grand Prismatic Spring. At 370 feet in diameter, it's larger than a football field and the third largest spring in the world. Heat-loving bacteria called thermophiles live in the water, creating its remarkable hues of green, yellow, and orange. Now, some guy flew a drone into the spring a few years back, and it was never seen again. Spotted Lake. A fence surrounds Canada's Spotted Lake to prevent unwelcome intruders. For hundreds of years, the 300 or so pools have been revered for the water, which is believed to be therapeutic. A rich concentration of minerals comprise the lake, including dense deposits of magnesium sulfate, calcium, and sodium sulfates. Silver is also here in limited quantities. Ammunition was manufactured using some of these materials during World War I. Lake Retba. Senegal's Pink Lake is one of the saltiest around, with levels reaching up to 40% in some spots. Dun Ali ala Salina, a algae, creates the pink color by producing a red pigment that helps the little guys absorb light. In a fascinating case of evolution in action, small fish exist in the lake that have adapted to their environment. They pump out extra salt and maintain their water levels. They're also 4 times smaller than the same fish in a normal environment as a result of saltwater fish dwarfism. Blood Falls. Thomas Griffith Taylor, or Griff, was a famous explorer who survived Captain Robert Falcon Scott's doomed Terra Nova expedition to Antarctica in the early 1900s. As a result of his journey through Antarctica, a bunch of landmarks are named after the man, as you'll soon see. Located in McMurdo's Taylor Valley, Blood Falls flows from the tongue of Taylor Glacier. Taylor and his group were the first people to see Blood Falls, and it must have been a shocking sight. They thought that the crimson plume was caused by red algae, but you know what? They were wrong. People would eventually discover that it's actually that color because of iron oxides. Cano Cristales. For half the year, visitors would not be inclined to give Colombia's Cano Cristales so much as a second glance. But at just the right time, between the wet and dry seasons, the water explodes in an amazing shade of colors that no other body of water on the world can duplicate. Yellow, blue, red, green, and black hues are easily visible, as though Van Gogh himself had had his way with the river. You could say that the water is mirroring the area surrounding it. The location is one of the most biodiverse ecosystems on the planet. Located in the protected Serrana de la Macarena National Park, the land boasts over 2,000 plant, 500 bird, and 100 reptile species, along with monkeys, jaguars, and cougars. Though it's relatively safe to visit today, guerrilla armies closed the land to the public from 1989 to 2009. Now, during that time, they ravaged parts of Cano Cristales. Even now, you can only go via specific tour companies, and only a certain number of visitors are allowed each day. Those tourists are subject to rules put in place by the locals to protect their unique environment. Potential pollutants like sunscreen and insect repellent cannot be used here. Boiling Lake. Two Englishmen staggering through Dominica happened upon the boiling lake way back in the 1870s. It was the New World's first taste of the remarkable body of water. While it's referred to as a lake, it's actually a flooded fumarole, if I got that right, or an opening in the Earth's crust. As is the case with most fumarole, the boiling lake is the site of a ton of volcanic activity. Temperatures within the lake can reach up to 200 degrees Fahrenheit. Now, despite this, George Kourounis, an adventurer and TV personality, became the first person to cross the boiling lake from above using ropes to make his historic walk. Jellyfish Lake. Millions of years ago, when no humans were around to see it, this lake and the jellyfish within got separated from the ocean. Over the ensuing years, the golden jellyfish would become completely harmless, eventually losing the stinging capabilities entirely. Now the lake, a part of the famous Rock Islands in Palau, is called Jellyfish Lake, and those jellyfish within are frequently visited by humans. Last year, however, was a bad one for the well-being of the famous creatures. A severe drought combined with warming waters have decimated the numbers. Tours to the lake have become rarer and rarer. There is still hope that the population will rebound because it has done so before, but experts worry that the long-term effects of global warming may severely hurt the chances. Champagne Pool. Though the waters of Champagne Pool are similar to that of the bubbly alcoholic beverage, you don't want to try drinking any of this. That's because its temperature constantly remains around 165 degrees Fahrenheit, so it's not exactly going to cool you off. Geologically speaking, the Champagne Pool is a baby, as it was only formed around 900 years ago thanks to a hydrothermal eruption. The orange is the result of the pool's geothermal fluid being filled with metalloid compounds that precipitate and form the orange deposits. Lake Nyos. A unique tragic event took place in Cameroon's Lake Nyos that would go down in history. In 1986, for unknown reasons, but likely a result of a landslide, the lake suddenly and without warning emitted a huge deadly cloud of CO2. A fountain of water shot hundreds of feet in the air, creating a mini tsunami. But it was that CO2 cloud that did the real damage. Nearly 2,000 people and thousands of livestock would suffocate. People from as far away as 15 miles were affected. Individuals who were awake and on the feet at the time were fortunate and mostly unaffected, but those sleeping were at the mercy of the gas as it settled on the ground. Many died in the sleep without their relatives even realizing. The event was the first known large-scale asphyxiation that was the result of a natural event. Nyos is one of just 3 lakes in the world known to be saturated with CO2. The others are Lake Manaun, which is also in Cameroon, and Kivu, a lake in the Democratic Republic of Congo. The Aral Sea. Now, years ago, the Aral Sea was amongst the largest of its kind in the world, boasting a total size of some 26,300 square miles. Unfortunately, and to the horror of environmental experts, it's been steadily shrinking since the 1960s. At the time, the Soviets diverted the rivers that led to the Aral Sea. The visual results are shocking. Now, 2 pictures, seen here, were taken of the sea. The one on the left is from 1989, and the one on the right was taken in 2014. It's why the shrinking Aral Sea is considered one of the worst environmental disasters of our time. Fishing industries once prosperous in the area have, like the water, all but disappeared, causing great economic hardships for people who had been dependent on that trade. Pamukkale Travertine Terraces. Hierapolis flourished as a Greco-Roman city in antiquity. It was built on Pamukkale, a natural site in southwestern Turkey. People have been attracted to Pamukkale for years for its hot springs and impressive terraces of travertine, which have been formed throughout the years thanks to the flowing water. Hotels were built on the site of what was once Hierapolis in the 1960s, and this caused considerable damage to the site. The hotels would be torn down following the area being declared a World Heritage Site. Lake Vostok. Outside of those oceans of water thought to exist on other planets that we explored to begin the video, you won't find a body of water harder to get to than Lake Vostok. It's in an area known as the southern pole of cold beneath Russia's Vostok station. The Russians plan on extracting water samples and sediments from the bottom of the lake. Scientists are extremely interested to see what life exists in Vostok. The lake's environment has been sealed off beneath the ice for millions of years, which means that there could be unusual or even undiscovered life forms existing within its depths. Kelamutu Crater. Kelamutu is a small, famous volcano in Indonesia. Up towards its summit lie three remarkable crater lakes that change colors regularly and completely independently of each other. At different times, the waters may be red, brown, turquoise, or green. A thick mist surrounds the volcano, earning the area a ghoulish reputation. Local legends state that the spirits of the dead come to rest in one of the lakes. Which lake they end up in depends on what they did in the lifetime. It's why the lakes are named Lake of Old People, Lake of Young Men and Maidens, and Lake of Evil Spirits, respectively.